Yeah, I hear you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Gotta Pop podcast. This is part two of the one all about friends. And joining me again today is my friend, Candace Estelle. And with Candace Estelle is someone who was on our show last episode. And this is Sir Charlie Pancakes. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. We're happy to be here. One of us is happy to be here. He couldn't be angrier, actually, but he
he,
did he
he
did
looks
break
like
some of our
he's got
property.
some mixed emotions going on right now.
I can't even barely see him. Like if I'm looking at myself, I just look like I have a sweater with some eyes in my
That's
shoulder.
exactly what it looks like. Yeah, I noticed that. Wow.
I'm haunted by the thought of you, Charlie.
Anyway, that would be a great idea for a sweater. It just looks like it has eyes, like right there or some other spot. That'd be kind of creepy.
It
You don't
would be
think so?
very creepy,
It
especially
would
since
be.
this one's growling at me.
Okay, well, I thank you for being on the show, even if it's just going to be very briefly, Sir Charlie.
I'm talking to you.
So, for those who didn't see the first part, well, you should probably go watch that. In that,
Bro, what are you doing?
yeah, seriously. I mean, you saw part two in the title of this. I'm still debating whether or not I want to call it part two Electric Boogaloo.
You have to. Anytime we do a part two, it's Electric Boogaloo. We
Yeah,
discussed that.
we
It's
did
canon from the last time.
we did Twisters 2, Electric Boogaloo, and that was like the highest viewed of all the Twisters episodes we did.
We
So
boogaloo.
yeah. So anyway, if you haven't seen that, please look for that. In that, talked about I can't remember if I already said it, but we talked about the first 5 seasons of Friends. Friends lasted for 10 seasons between 1994 and 2004. And because that's so many seasons, so many episodes, we decided to split it up into 2 episodes. And also because Candace and I have a tendency to get chatty and we talk about other things other than the topic. So, but it's okay
Yeah,
because we
because
have
we
fun.
are friends.
We
So all
are
we're
friends.
doing,
So
we're technically, no matter what we do, we're on theme.
yeah, exactly. So I think we're going to keep going here. What we did in the first part was we each picked a favorite episode from every season, and we started off talking about the pilot episode, and well, we'll see. This one might end with us talking about the finale episode. It would seem pretty appropriate to me. But let's
I
dive
like the
into.
symmetry.
Yeah, I dig it. Let's talk about season 6 then, and why don't you start things off for us, Candace?
I would be delighted. We're going to start things off with season 6, episode 10, the one with the routine. Is that
Ah,
the one you picked?
it is not. And
Good.
I don't remember right now what the one with the routine. Is that what you said?
The routine. It's the
Well,
dance one.
oh,
It's Dick
okay. Yeah, we
Clark's
talked
New
about
Year's
that earlier. We
Rockin'
talked
Eve.
about it in the first thing. No, I thought about that actually. That was yeah, it's such a great episode. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about that in case they don't know?
Picture this. It's 1999. Y2K is tearing us apart. We're terrified. Have I set the scene? Okay.
I think you have.
I think we should note just really quick because I can feel myself becoming more and more unhinged. That we did film the first part and the second part back to back. So the fact that
Yes.
I've become weirder is canon, but also it's
It's
understandable.
canon.
Okay. Yes, it is. That's who I am. If you watch my podcast, it's the
Here's to
same. Like
that.
you can tell if I watch and if I do more than one episode in a day because by the end I'm just like, so that's what I freaking did. Gotta go. Bye. And I become like a caricature of myself. I have the sitcom sickness. The longer I go on, the more
So we're
weird
both
I
on a
get.
roll here. We've been talking already for on and off air couple hours, I'd say, something like that.
4 hours at this point.
4 hours. So yeah, there's gonna be no silliness, I'm sure, here on out.
Never. I have never not once in my life been considered a silly goose. And there's definitely not a t-shirt or a sweatshirt that I saw that I want that says silly goose on the loose. Okay, I focus. So
Okay.
this is the one where Janine, which is Joey's current roommate, who is this Australian hottie,
Yeah.
who I just never give any cares about. I don't give two hoots. I don't care. She's hot. That's great. Everyone on this show is
She
hot.
played by some
So
supermodel or something, or I can't remember.
yeah, I feel like it's Elle McPherson.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
But is Elle McPherson Australian?
I don't know.
I'm doing the Google. Elle
You
Mc
do that, and I'll just fix my hair that needs to be cut.
Australian model and businesswoman. It is
Ah,
Elle McPherson. Sometimes my brain it scares me, and I wish it could remember other things, important
it scares a lot of us, my friend.
things.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
so this is the one where Janine is a professional dancer. I'm sorry, she's a dancer.
She's a
And
dunce.
she is hired to be one of the backup dancers for Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve, which is this thing that used to happen where Dick Clark, who's dead, used to bring in the New Year's on. It's Anderson Cooper took over. I have this really bad habit of pointing out when someone is dead, and I don't know how to do it with uh any softness. So like if I'm watching a TV show and a character is dead, I'll always go, they're dead. My brain won't let me not. Like Arrested Development. I'll have to do it for Brooklyn Nine-Nine next time I watch it. Technically, I can do it
Oh,
for this show.
for this show? Oh
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
maybe
I thought you were referring to like the star of the show being dead or something. I'm like, wait a second. No,
Friends.
I know.
Like
I
actually,
get it. Yeah, I get it.
before we dive in, because we didn't even bring this up in the first episode, maybe we take a second for our beloved favorite character, my beloved favorite character, Chandler,
Yeah,
from Matthew Perry,
the great Matthew Perry, who unfortunately left us entirely too soon. We didn't mention that during the first episode.
which is
It's
kind of
something
crazy.
that is hard. I think it's going to be. It's hard for multiple reasons. Not only
It's the
because he.
reason why I haven't rewatched the show. Even when we decided we were going to do this, I was like, I
Yeah,
cannot yet.
yeah, yeah, and we had said that. I think we might have brought that up during our Twisters episode. Somehow we got.
Not while it was recording. That was
Oh, okay,
that day
off air.
we talked for 8 straight hours.
Yeah, but yeah, it is hard, and I was wondering how I was going to be because watching Friends, and I've
How
watched
did
a
it
few.
feel?
It felt okay. I was thinking more along the lines of, as I was watching them, and I'd see, I'd be charmed by something Chandler said, or touched by, something that took place in a scene he was in. Just how good he was, how great Matthew Perry was in that role, and I don't know. I guess I was thinking before I started. I'm like, yes, it's so sad, and it will forever be sad that Matthew Perry has died. But Chandler Bing lives on. Matthew Perry will always live on through him, and I think it's a great way to continue to honor him, to continue to watch all the great things he left us. Not only Friends, but he was good in many other things.
Fools rush in.
Would you say?
Fools rush in.
Full. I can't understand.
Fools rush
Oh,
in.
Fools Rush In. It sounded like Fools for Rent or something, and I'm like, I don't recall
It's
that
a
one.
different type of film, sir.
It is a
Not on
different
this
kind of film.
street corner. Um,
Yeah, Fools Rush In was good. I liked that quite a bit with him and Salma
I love
Hayek.
Selma Hayek. I love her
I love
so
her.
much.
She's great.
She's so hot. Also super cool. You can't say anything because you shouldn't, but guys,
No,
she's
no. I mean, I was aware of her before I met my wife, and there were plans in my head to marry her, but I decided, I met Lisa, and I'm like, Salma, sorry,
yeah. And then
I'll
Salma
fuck
was
you.
like, I guess I'll take that L and marry a billionaire. So I think she recovered just fine.
Everybody's happy. It all
Everybody's happy.
everybody's
I
happy.
love her so much. But yeah, no. Matthew Perry's one of those things where like I I loved his character so much, and I do think that he gets to live on through the character. But as someone who also read his book before he passed away, and
Hmm.
read some of the stuff, I know that that's not what he wanted to be remembered for.
Yeah,
So I also want to point out that he is someone who advocated for people with addiction and has a charity set up and did a whole bunch of work for people who suffered from addiction, like he did, to make the world a better place for others who are struggling with a hereditary disorder.
yeah. I
So we
remember
remember
after
him
he,
for that too.
I remember after he died, maybe I kept seeing, and maybe it was quotes directly from the book about what he wanted to be remembered for, and it was along the lines of what you just said, being able to help and make a difference for people who needed help and who
And
were
I
going
think
through it.
that he's a little self-deprecating there where he's like, no, the charity work is what I want to be known for. Um, I don't think you can monetize or really put a number on the value of a laugh. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's so much warmth. I grew up is dark, okay? The childhood. Buddy knows that it's dark. And this is one of the things I did on repeat as a child. I watched this show and he was my favorite, which means he's a big part of the joy that it brought me. It's the laughs and those things got me through some tough times, you know? And I think that entertainers in general, myself included, I'm incredibly entertaining, but like entertainers
You
in
are.
general, they have that ability to make you not feel so alone or not so sad, you know, from the writers to the actors to everybody who makes the show possible. And for me, a big part of that was Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
So, yes, he wants to be known for his charity work, and we mentioned it. We know that he did that, but I don't wanna discount the fact that he got to sit with me in my bedroom when I was scared or when I was sad or when I was alone, and he was the only thing that kept me from crying or worse, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And this might sound like the corniest thing in the world to say, but you look at the theme song for Friends, I'll be there for you. And Chandler and all the other friends were there for so many of us through so many different happy and sad times in our lives. We had said in the first part that one of the things that is appealing about Friends is that there's so much relatable in there in all of the characters. Some of us sometimes have felt more like a Monica or more like a Ross or Chandler, Phoebe, and so on and so on. And you can relate to. I mentioned in there how when Chandler was going through romantic struggles before he and Monica got together, I at that same period in my life in my 20s was going through similar things, and I could relate to him and they were there for us. And Matthew Perry will always be there for us to make us feel better through Chandler and other roles,
Yeah, but especially through Chandler, not just
especially
because
through Chandler.
it's not just because it's the role he's most well known for, but it's the role that has so much to it. 10 years worth of
Yeah,
material, you know?
exactly.
There's 10 years worth of jokes and laughs and cuddles and like Fools Rush In, it's only an hour and a half, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And
But
he doesn't get props too for well, I think he actually got a lot of props for his acting. I was going to say that he actually did some great dramatic work too. He had been on some episodes of I think it was the West Wing and some other series. Had a short-lived show. What's it called?
he
Like
had
Sunset.
several short-lived shows.
Yeah, he did. He did. But there was one that was more, it was from, I think, the creator of The West Wing that was centered around a show that was like Saturday Night Live. And he was like the head writer or producer of it. But anyway, it was a really good role. Fantastic actor. And just, yeah, Chandler is the role he will always be remembered for. And I,
The
well,
most, yeah.
we both said he was really one of our favorite characters.
I mean, he's my favorite. I've said
Yeah.
that multiple times. I've said that
Yeah.
that's the relationship I've wanted as a Monica. I search for my Chandler. I love a sarcastic, witty, kind man, you know, someone who can keep up, but also no judgment.
Yeah.
Something else I'd like to note is like in his book, he does talk about how hard it was growing up with one of the most beautiful parents in the world because he had like his mom was a model and his father was Canadian. I want to say a mayor or like a whatever, a prime minister or something like that. Like, and he was like, they're both incredibly beautiful, and then I
Yeah.
come out and I'm me. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I remember now his father I know also acted for a while. I remember him being in a TV series that I liked in the 70s. Um, but John Bennett Perry, I remember his name. But yeah, I remember him being a very handsome guy. I remember seeing his mother, beautiful woman. And yeah, certainly not that Matthew was an unattractive man. He was a nice looking man. But yeah, he certainly had his struggles. And not to go too far down this road, but we mentioned this I think one other time that we talked is that so many celebrities who are known for their comedic roles or being stand-up comedians are some of the ones that are considered the best at that are ones that really have their own horrible personal
Darkness.
demons. Yeah. And poor guy, he had a lot of demons, and I just
I don't
thank him.
remember who said it, but I don't remember who said it. Maybe it's Mel Brooks. Who knows? He's funny.
Yes.
Is comedy is tragedy plus time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's a great line.
Yeah, I it's mine. I'm Mel Brooks.
I thought so. I thought you had said that. I'm like, why is she giving props to Mel Brooks there?
You know. But yeah,
So
I just did want to take a second to actually, say something. And also, I want to point out a lot of times comedic actors don't get props in terms of being valuable entertainers, right? They're like, oh, you and your laughs, right? I'm over here being dramatic and reading Shakespeare for the 700th rendition of whatever we're going to do about nothing.
yeah,
And, um, and that's BS because
yeah,
laughs can save a life, you
yeah,
know, because you're bringing
absolutely.
joy, literal dopamine hits when you laugh. It's good for your soul, it's good for your body, it makes you grow.
Yeah,
So like being a comedian, um, best thing you can do.
yeah, exactly.
Making someone laugh, like there's no better thing. It's great when you're dramatic and you can make someone feel, right? And you can dig in. But if you can also make them laugh and make them glow and make them feel light, especially in this world, there's no greater superpower.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
thank you.
And I agree with you in that yes, dramatic acting is absolutely wonderful and touching and can be very moving, which is the same as touching, so I don't know why I said that. But comedy is it's not an easy thing just because you're making people laugh and sometimes being silly. I know there's a famous line that believe it was some British actor from long ago said, and he said, dying is easy, comedy is hard. And and such an important thing because we have said so many times in this episode and in the first part that you know the laughs and just flat out joy that these shows have brought us are with us forever. And how wonderful is that?
It's the best. It's the best thing. And that's why I don't know. That's why shows like this have that longevity, right? Because you have these laughs, and then there's also this comfort and this familiarity, and you sit there and you think, "Yeah, I'm their friends too. I'm a
Yeah,
part of this." I'm here on
exactly.
the couch. It's a different couch, but I'm here on the couch.
Yeah, we're all in the same world. And why don't we move into the world of the second half of the series, which
Yeah. So
for
I
us,
was
since it
talking
was.
about the routine.
Yes, you were talking about the routine. I forgot that we had already started that, but
Yes.
I'm really glad you took that moment for our friend Matthew Perry.
I can't believe we didn't do it sooner. But also, I don't think he'd want us to just sit and be miserable.
Exactly, exactly. So this classic episode, we were talking about the New Year's Eve, Dick Clark's
Yeah.
Rockin' New Year's Eve.
Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve, and we were talking about Elle McPherson and how I just don't care about her as the character in the show, Janine. She is Joey's roommate, and he has a crush on her because she's so hot and she's a dancer. And
I had forgotten all about her.
yeah, because she's not memorable. The only reason I'm remembering her is because she's in this scene,
Hmm.
which is basically that she invites Joey to be with her as an extra for the dancing scenes that are pre-filmed for Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve, which the Times Square part is live. And so she invites Joey, and Joey's excited because he thinks it's a date, but Monica and Ross, who are siblings and dorks, get super stoked because that's what they used to do growing up with their parents, and they're like, "We love it." And so she invites them to come as well, and they all end up doing this taping. I'm just gonna ignore the Joey Janine storyline because it's
Yeah.
uninteresting to me. Joey gets the girl. Who saw that coming? Um, but Ross and Monica are trying their hardest to get onto one of the main little stages that
Hmm.
like is, special. It's only one couple up there. And they're dancing their hearts out. At one point, Monica asks the like director producer guy, she's like, "What do I have to do to get up there? Do you need to be able to see my underwear?" And then Ross is like, "Monica." And then he goes, "Would it help?" Because he keeps saying like nobody, some other girl got up there and she's not even wearing underpants, and that's, it's
Forgot about
stupid.
that.
Um, and then they do this thing called the routine, which they did in like the 6th or 7th grade, uh, which is this dance routine they put together for a talent show. They don't win, but they still, for some reason, remember all of the moves and start doing it. And it is just ridiculous. It is not, there is no era where this was a good dance routine. And they do it. It's like at one point they do like this, like
Oh gosh,
they
yeah, that's
funky
right.
chicken, um and then the guy's like, you know what? You can go up there, but he's doing it. It's after they've done the midnight countdown. So they're up there dancing on their own for no reason. And the guy's like, film this. It's going to be a great blooper. And then that's basically the episode.
And it was so funny. And
It's
oh,
iconic.
it really is. It really is. I mean, I can't ever put on that show, that New Year's Eve show, and not think of that.
Yeah.
All these years later.
Well, D is with Anderson Cooper now, right?
Well, no, he does another one. He does something
It's
on CNN. I think it's Carson Daly. Is
oh,
that
okay.
is that the guy who hosts like every other show or
I mean, if you're talking about a guy who hosts things, it's Carson Daly or it's Ryan Seacrest.
Seacrest? It's
Is
Seacrest. Thank
it?
you. Yeah,
I
thank
don't
you very
watch
much.
any of them, so I'm honestly not sure.
And it's just okay. It's just okay. I'll put it on. I'll see acts that I don't care for, but anyway, I'm going to stop because that's going to send me into a rant about how I can't stand watching Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen together doing New Year's Eve. But
You
anyway,
don't like Anderson Cooper?
oh no, I like Anderson Cooper quite a bit. I'm not the biggest Andy Cohen fan. So Andy, if you're
Okay.
watching, I apologize, but I just don't find you all that funny. So
We like Andersons, not Andy's here. Go back home.
exactly. But no, Anderson Cooper's great. I wish I had hair like his. He's got the coolest hair.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's very cool. But so yeah, that was a great choice for your favorite episode or one of your favorites of season 6.
And your choice, sir?
My choice would be one. Can't remember if this is the end of the season or not. I didn't write down the episode number, but it's the one with the proposal where
It is
Chandler.
it's a finale again.
That's what I thought. Yeah, and it is also the final appearance of a character that we have not mentioned either in this episode or in the first part, and that is Richard, who is played by Tom Selleck, the legendary Tom Selleck.
That's because I find that storyline gross.
Now, I guess a big part of that is that you don't like Dennis. No, it's the age difference between obviously Monica and Richard. Richard, for those who don't
Yeah,
know,
who's Dennis?
no, I said dentist.
Oh,
So you didn't
dentist.
like a dentist because I think he was a
Well, he's an
dentist.
ophthalmologist.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay,
Yeah, he's an eye doctor.
okay, my mistake. My
Yeah,
mistake.
double your
Thanks.
mistake. How dare you?
I apologize to you. I apologize to Tom Selleck and whoever wrote that episode. But anyway, yeah, he and Monica had been a thing. His character was friends with Monica's father. I think they were good buddies, and then they dated for a
They
while.
are good buddies. And that's why it's creepy because
Yeah.
Monica literally tells him when she's dating him, she's like, I can't believe I'm kissing you. I've peed in your pool once because she's the same age as his daughter.
Yeah, yeah. And I know she subsequently didn't she date his son at one point too?
Yes.
Yeah, who was played by Michael Vartan, who went on to be on one of my favorite TV series, and that's Alias. But
Or went on to be on Sweet Home Alabama with Reese Witherspoon.
oh, I forgot
But
about that. Okay, good call. And Never Been Kissed with Drew Barrymore. I think we've.
wait, I think I've got mine wrong.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure I saw Sweet Home Alabama, so
Well, that would be you're missing out, man. I love that's a good
I
rom-com.
think
Hold on.
I have unfairly not watched it because I can't stand that song. But
You can't stand the song Sweet Home Alabama?
I loved it the first 7,000 times I heard it, but then I think I just got so burnt out on it that I turn it off now when it comes on.
I was totally wrong. I got him totally mixed up with
Oh,
something
okay.
else. Never Been Kissed is right. It's uh a Perry for that. It's like Josh Perry or something.
Oh,
What
okay.
was his name? Yeah, Josh Lucas. He plays a Perry. Yeah, no, totally wrong. Scratch that back. As soon as you said it's the guy in Never Been Kissed, I was like, wait, that's not the guy in Sweet Home Alabama. I just said the wrong rom-com. But it is a
That's
good
okay.
movie. And also, I'm from the South, so I'm legally obligated to enjoy that song and all of its Dixie madness.
And also, since that movie came out, I have actually become a pretty big fan of Reese Witherspoon. So I should go back and watch that one.
She's the best. Like you just mentioned a Drew Barrymore movie. I love Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, I love
And
Drew.
then Reese Witherspoon. I love Reese Witherspoon. And like both of them together, then my favorite ladies in Hollywood, I think. Add like Cameron Diaz and
There you go. Speaking of Cameron Diaz, and I swear, folks,
oh
this will
yeah,
be one of the
let's
last
speak of
rabbit holes.
Cameron Diaz. I love her.
Are you a fan of The Holiday?
My favorite Christmas movie.
We are recording this on September 13th. Lisa and I watched that last weekend. We watch that usually at least once per year, but then we decided last Saturday we decided to do Christmas in September. So we watched The Holiday, which is her all-time favorite movie, and then we watched Love Actually after that. So if you ever want to do a Christmas any time of the year, watch those two movies.
Don't watch Love Actually because it's garbage.
You don't like Love Actually?
Just the I well, you just recently watched it, so I was gonna be like, watch it again. You know, they the girl that Hugh Grant is with, they call her the chubby girl, like the whole movie, and she's
Yeah.
just a normal sized woman.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Weird.
I know. We were commenting on that as we watched it. I thought you had said there that you didn't like Love Actually, so I wasn't sure what you were saying there.
That is what I'm saying. I
Oh, is
don't
that what
like
you
it.
are? Oh, that's what you're saying. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't
And then
sure if
like
that was just that one part you didn't like. Okay.
I don't like the Keira Knightley
Storyline.
storyline at all. I love Colin Firth, so his storyline I find adorable where he
Yeah,
tries to learn Portuguese. Is so cute.
that's one of my favorites in there.
I love Bill Nye, so his part also great. He's the English rocker.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's great with
And
Christmas is all around.
yeah, and then I love Liam Neeson and his stepson, which is what Thomas Brody Singer or something like that.
He's something like that. Yeah, you think you're real
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
I think and I love that little storyline where he has a crush on the little girl.
Oh,
Oh,
it's so
so
sweet.
cute.
Yeah.
But there are a couple pieces, like I said, the Hugh Grant's storyline, and the Keira Knightley storyline where I'm just like, oh, why are we romanticizing cheating,
Yeah.
and shaming someone, body
Yeah.
shaming them,
Yeah,
but also
I
someone who's
didn't. Yeah,
not
that really
gigantic?
kind of annoyed us when we were watching. It's like, why do they keep going back to this, really unfunny bit the whole.
Yes, it's like you've beat a dead horse, my God. And
Yeah.
also, she's not big.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe that's what they were trying to say is that okay, that people get
That movie came out in
misrepresented.
2002. They were not woke enough to have anything. They were just making fat jokes.
Yeah, yeah, they were big at bad jokes. But anyway, boy, we really went to a different place there. But I think how did we get to that? It was
I said
because
I love
Michael
Cameron Diaz.
Vartan.
You
Yeah,
brought
and that
up
led to
Reese
Gotcha. Anyway,
Witherspoon, Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, The Holiday, and then you were like, in Love Actually. And I said, not Love Actually.
yeah.
Nope, actually.
Good, nice, nice.
If you're
Well
going to
done.
choose two Christmas movies to watch, it's The Holiday and it's Elf. And third, The Grinch, because Jim Carrey went through hell for us for that movie, and we owe it to him.
Never saw it. Never saw the
Eat
Grinch.
shit. Oh my God. What?
I've never seen it. I'm not the biggest fan of the animated Grinch. Well, actually, I'm okay with it. It's probably
It's
the one
not animated.
I realize that, but where I'm going with that is because I was not a fan of that as a child, I never felt a strong desire to watch the movie. However,
Buddy,
I am
grow
a
up.
big fan of Jim Carrey, so I should watch it.
I'm incensed right now. For one, I love Jim Carrey. Him and Tom Hanks are my two favorite actors, like growing
Like
up.
Tom Hanks?
Dude, you're gonna get canceled so hard, and I
Okay.
will not come to you. You don't like
I
Tom
love
Hanks?
Tom Hanks. I've loved Tom Hanks longer than most of you have, ever since he was on Bosom Buddies in the early 80s. I'm a
I
fan.
was about to lose my mind. Like we were gonna have to stop. There would be no part two.
Oh no, Tom Hanks is awesome.
We would
But
not
I
be
should
friends
watch all right,
anymore.
so The Grinch Who Stole
How
Hanukkah.
the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I know it's The Grinch Who Stole
Oh my
Christmas.
God. But you know that Jim Carrey had to be put in that makeup every day, and it was so torturous for him that he had to go through like FBI or CIA torture training to be able to tolerate it.
Are you serious? He
I
really had
am
to,
very serious. And
wow.
they like taught him some techniques, and then they were like, and just rip cigs like no other. He was going through like packs a day because all of the makeup was suffocating. It basically felt like he was being buried alive for like the
Wow.
6 hours the makeup took, and then however long he was filming that day.
Wow. You know
And
what they
he
should have
did
done
that
for his
for
torture
us.
training? You know what they should have done for his torture training? Made him watch the second Ace Ventura movie over and over again.
You're
Yeah, it really wasn't that bad. I just,
especially because it has Courtney Cox in it. So now there you go. We're back to Friends.
there we go. See? Anyway, let's go back to the one with the proposal, season 6. I had mentioned that as being one of my favorites. It is the final appearance of Richard. And what I liked about that part of the story is, from what I recall, I haven't watched this in a while, but Chandler was actually concerned about Monica and Richard getting back together, and because he was madly in love with her. I think at this point he had already planned on proposing, didn't he? Candace, do you remember? Or
That what a silly question. Of course I know what's going on. So the thing is that in the episode beforehand, Chandler is planning to propose, and then him and Phoebe are trying to do that, and they're worried that Monica is catching on because he tries to propose at one point, and Richard shows up at the restaurant, so he doesn't propose. But everyone
oh
makes a
yeah,
big deal about her coming home, and she's like, "What's going on?" And so they're worried that she's caught on, and he wants it to be a surprise that he's doing it. So he tries to flip her in the complete opposite direction to be like, I actually never want to get married. Take a look at pigs. Pigs
that's
don't get married, which is a weird thing to say.
right.
And then at the exact same juncture, um, Richard shows up and shows up at Monica's work and is like, "Hey, actually, I saw you the other night and I just remembered I'm still in love with you." And she's like, "What?" And so she's dealing with Chandler acting like he'll never marry her, which is a big dream for her. And then Richard, who she was in love with, coming up and being like, "I'll give you everything you want. I'll give you kids and marriage, and kids is the reason we broke up anyways. So
Yeah.
now I'm ready." And because at 60, that's when you're ready to have kids again. Um, and she's just like, "What?" And she's very confused and she's hurt by Chandler. And that's where the turmoil comes in.
Yeah, that's right.
So there you go.
Well, yeah, thank you for that recap. And what I really liked was the scene between Chandler and Richard, where Chandler just laid it out for Richard. That he would fight. He said he would pretty much, he wanted nothing more than to be with Monica, and Richard pretty much just said, you should go for it. You know, and it was a good scene. I really like that, and of course, just the whole proposal itself was beautiful and very touching. And it's one of the few seasons I think that didn't end on a cliffhanger necessarily, but it was just a great way to wrap up the season.
I love it. It's like
Yeah,
the perfect way to be proposed to,
yeah,
like
yeah.
all your
It
best
was
friends
beautiful.
are there and hiding and ready to like come out and immediately begin to celebrate with you and the
Yeah.
candles, love candles. So it's like it's romantic. I mean, all of the drama around it. No, that's not perfect.
No,
I don't
absolutely
prefer
not.
that.
But
But like it's simple and intimate, but still with all of your favorite things, like your people, you're ready to celebrate. He's got the champagne. I just thought it was so beautiful and it
it
makes
was
me really
beautiful.
happy. I
Yeah,
love it a lot. I can't wait to get to experience something cool
yeah.
someday.
You
Well,
and
I'd like yeah, I'll go through all the other steps first, but like that's a great proposal. You don't have to do all those crazy public things. Like,
no, no, it was a
I mean,
fantastic
if that's
one.
who you are, that's great, but I feel like
Yeah,
that is
to
my
each their
vibe.
own. Yeah,
Flowers. It needed flowers. That's what it's missing.
yeah, and well, yeah, Candace loves flowers. For those who don't know this shit about her,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm wearing sleeves, so you can't tell.
And what I think was what made it all even more extra special was the fact that there had been a build up. They had been together at that point, I want to say, for 2 full seasons as a couple. And we talked about this during part one of our show, is that there were kind of hints at the end of the season finale for the previous season that they might even get married. Then they had wanted to get married in Vegas, but then decided not to. So it was something the audience had been craving, and it was nice to see them grow further as a couple, and then for the engagement to happen the way that it did. Beautiful, beautiful episode.
I love it. I wish the writers didn't feel the need to add drama in, like adding in Richard and making it seem like she was unsure and then I don't know if you remember this, but when he goes to propose, it's Monica that tries to propose to him. That's why the candles are all lit. That's why it's so romantic because a
Yes.
woman did it.
Yeah.
And and he like Joey stops him before he goes in the apartment. He's like, "I'm sorry, I couldn't stop her. She said she's gonna go be with her parents, for a little bit because she needs to think." And he goes, "What does she need to think about? I love her. I'm gonna give her all of the things." And he opens the door and she's there. And like
Yeah.
it's lovely, but also then why the drama?
Yeah. I
I
mean, I
get
guess
it, it's television, but like on the other hand, it's just like, can't we just have something where he's nervous the whole time and then he is able to, or you could add in the drama of like Richard showed up and you didn't get the chance and then you drop the ring in a manhole cover or something. But like, I hate when people are like, maybe she's going to leave for another man. It's once again that trope of like, was Chandler the placeholder for Richard, who she was really in love with, you know? And I
Right.
hate it.
Yeah. Now, I give the writers of that show a lot of props, though, because they would, kind of dangle some things at us, throw us some curveballs from time to time. But you're right. I mean, sometimes that could get very frustrating.
At some point, I'm just like, can we just have a straightforward, happy thing to happen? And that's not just these writers, it's television does that. That's one of the reasons I loved the show Ted Lasso so much because it would be like, great, are we going to do one of these things where a literal conversation could fix the problem? And they don't. And that's refreshing.
Do you hear there's talk that they're going to come back? They're going
Yes.
to.
And I'm,
I have mixed emotions about that,
mhm.
but because it seems like everything was left kind of in a good spot.
It's
So
done. They
yeah,
wrapped it up.
yeah, love that series though. So
Yeah.
that was my choice for season 6. Did you? You didn't do season 6 yet, right?
Yes, I did. It was the routine.
We got kind of off course a little bit. So well, then in that case, why don't you take season 7? What's your favorite?
Or are
What's
you
your?
going to remember that I do it?
We'll see. I'm making a little note.
Okay. So for season 7, my dear viewers slash listeners,
Is it the
um,
routine? Is that the?
that was season 6.
I know. Go ahead.
Okay. It's the one with all the cheesecakes. It's episode 11.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's good, right?
Uh-huh.
So this one is great because they changed up the dynamics of who we're used to seeing together. And this one's primary coupling is Rachel and Chandler, which
Hmm.
doesn't happen very often. And basically the premise is that um Chandler is like there's a cheesecake delivered to Chandler and Monica's apartment and he eats it before he recognizes that it was for the apartment below. And it's the best cheesecake he's ever had in his whole life. And that's a problem for two counts. One, he stole it. Two, uh, Monica is a chef, a professional chef, and it would kill her to know that he doesn't prefer her cheesecake. And so he's eating it. And then Rachel ends up having some, and she's also like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever had. And then she sees that he stole it. And she goes, oh, you're a thiefer. You're a thief. You stole this. And he goes, no, no, no. The only people losing out here because Mrs. Braverman is going to order another cheesecake and they'll send it to her. And the only people missing hurting here is the giant cheesecake conglomerate. And he looks at the box and he goes, Little Mama's Bakery.
That's right.
And it's so funny. The bakery's in Chicago, by the way, and that does come back in a second. So it's really just them clandestinely eating cheesecake, which is really silly. I really love cheesecake. Um,
Now I
and
want some.
then I know, me too. And then on the other hand, we have Phoebe and Joey having a fight, which they're often paired up together as buddies. And they're having a fight because Joey dips out on her for their monthly friend dinner that they do because he gets the opportunity to sleep with some other girl. So he's like, sorry, when there's a promise for sex, I can dip out at any time, which horrible. Don't treat your friends like that. Male, female, non-binary, however you choose to just don't behave that way. And Phoebe is also like, no, because girls come and go, but this is forever. And so it's nice that she sticks up for herself and Joey listens, which is, cool. And then the problem is that David, who's from like season 2, I want to say,
Yeah,
who
that's right.
Phoebe falls in love with, and then he goes and moves to Russia.
Yeah.
Um,
Made by Hank Azaria. Yeah.
yes, Hank Azaria. Um, he comes back to town and he's only going to be in town for 24 hours, of course. And and Phoebe has to cancel dinner with Joey at this point for the promise of sex. And she had just made this huge stink about it. Um and she tries to fandangle it. So basically she tries to have an early dinner with Joey and then she's going to have a late dinner with David. But the problem is Joey finds out and so he gives her a lot of guff about it. and then they get in kind of a tiff. She leaves. She goes and spends time with David. She says her goodbyes to him. They don't say I love you because they know that it'll make it more hard. Well, maybe that's from season 2 actually. It might be both. Could be neither. Who's to say? And then Joey sees her saying that goodbye and how it's like very heartfelt and stuff. And he understands like the huge difference is like the woman he ditched her for. He doesn't even remember her name, basically.
Hmm.
And this is someone she was very much so in love with. And Phoebe never has a long-term relationship until she's with Mike.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal that
Yeah.
she has much of a connection with the man. And he is once again just a gem of a person and chooses not to judge her and just gives her a hug and they like hang out together, you know. And I think that that's really beautiful. I love that friendship.
Yeah,
And
me
then on
too.
the other hand, Chandler and Rachel steal another cheesecake because that one does get delivered to the right place, but Mrs. Braverman doesn't grab it fast enough. And they're like, maybe she's out of town. And by the time she gets back, the cheesecake will be bad. And if she eats it, she could die. And they're like, oh, so we need to take this to save her life. And then Rachel's like, yeah, grab it really quick. And then Chandler's like, yeah, quick, quick. And she's like, why? Because I hear someone moving in the apartment. So like they're just stealing a cheesecake at this point. And then they're getting really greedy with each other and they go to like separate the cheesecake. And it's so funny because at one point she's like, he picks a side and he picks and she goes, haha, that's so the smaller half, you know? And she goes, so don't come crying to me when you run out of your cheesecake and blah, blah, blah. And she turns and immediately drops it in the hallway. And then she's like, oh, and he goes, oh, don't come crying to me. And she just slaps it so it falls out of his hand. So both of them are like sitting on the floor and they're losing it. And they just go and grab like utensils and start eating cheesecake off the floor from their respective halves. And it's so ridiculous and gross, but funny. And then my favorite part is that at that point, Joey comes up the stairs and he sits down watching them both scrounging on the ground eating cheesecake. And he just whips out a spoon from
Yep.
his jacket and goes, what are we having?
As soon as you started talking about Joey, I'm like, yes, I remember what happens here. Oh, I haven't seen that one in a while. That was a very, very funny episode.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love this show. You know, there's so
Yeah.
much warmth when I think like look how much I'm smiling, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. All these episodes that we've been talking about, they've just yeah, they bring back such nice memories of watching them for the first time and just seeing all these adventures of this group of people and just so wonderful. And
Yeah.
for me, uh, there was a good season. There was some. It was hard to pick a favorite, but this one, I just love certain parts of this one so much. It's the one with the holiday armadillo.
That was my backup choice.
Oh, was it? Oh my God! Just picturing Ross dressed as the holiday armadillo, Joey as Superman. It just cracks me up. One of my favorite parts is when I guess they'd been dressed. This is for they're not just doing this for a wild evening with their friends. They're doing this in big part because of Ben, Ross's
Yeah,
son.
you know how on your wild evenings with your friends you dress up as an armadillo and Superman.
I do. I don't want to share too much of that right here because it's a PG show, but yeah, they're doing this for his child Ben, who was played by Cole Sprouse, who later went on to do many things. He's still acting today. He was
He's
in.
he's Cole or he's Dylan.
Oh, yeah. I think
Do you
mostly.
not know enough about them? Do I need to give the filmography rundown?
Well, no, no, no. I thought like at the very beginning it was Cole or Dylan, but when he got a little older, it was strictly Cole.
I don't think so.
Okay, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Because
But,
they both talked about like continually being on the show.
okay, I thought it was mostly Cole, but anyway, I
I
was
mean,
just
it
gonna
could
say I knew him
mostly
for a
be
little
one,
while
but
from Riverdale, which I liked for a little while, and then I stopped liking it. But
and then it got insane. But you
yeah.
know, for my generation and a little bit younger, it's Sweet Life of Zach and Cody on Disney Channel.
Oh, okay. I seem not familiar with that one.
They had their own show, and then that turned into a spin-off show that they also had on Disney Channel called The Sweet Life on Deck, which is where they ended up being on a cruise ship boarding school. But you should also know him from Big Daddy with Adam Sandler.
Never saw it.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. I don't know why I
You've
never
got
watched
some
that one.
big missing
Yeah,
pieces in
and
your
I like Sandler. I've been a I've been a friend of Adam Sandler for about as long as I've been a friend of Courtney Cox, as we
I was
covered
about to say,
earlier.
wow, you are a star effer if there ever was one, just knowing all of these people.
Did you
But
say a star effer?
yeah, because I'm not allowed to curse, remember? And
Right,
I'm
right.
doing
Yeah,
my
I know.
best.
But anyway, yeah, I never saw Big Daddy, but I was aware that he was in it. But
It's one of his better films.
oh, okay. All right. Well,
It's
yeah.
got Leslie Mann in it.
Oh,
Judd
wait.
Apatow's wife.
40-year-old. No, wait. Was she 40-year-old
Yep.
virgin? Okay. And then this
No,
is 40.
this is 40. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which I have not
This
seen.
is 40. Knocked Up. The other woman,
Yeah.
Georgia to the Jungle,
Yeah, I was gonna say Georgia Young, and I know isn't she married to like director
Judd
writer
Apatow.
Judd? Yeah, there you go. But but anyway, yeah, little Ben is played by either Cole or Dylan or both in this particular episode,
He's a
and
Sprouse.
he's a Sprouse, yeah. And they decide to entertain him, and Ross, the only costume he could get was the holiday. I guess he wanted to be Santa. Did he want to be Santa Claus?
Yeah, so the thing is that Ross and Monica are Jewish, and
Mhm.
so Ross wants to teach Ben about Judaism because this is the first Christmas that he's spending with Ross. Usually he spends it with Carol and Susan always dresses up as Santa. So he wants to teach him about Judaism, and Ben is like, "Am I in trouble? Why am I not getting presents? Like, why do I have to learn about the Maccabees? What
Right.
like he's a child who doesn't understand, and because of how Christmas works, he thinks he's being punished because he's not going to get presents or anything. And then Ross then caves to be like, fine, I'll go get a Santa costume to make him happy. But it's like Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve, which
Yeah.
happens to be a huge holiday. My birthday. So there are no Santa costumes in the
Right.
city.
Yeah, a little hard to get at that point. So he is stuck getting the holiday armadillo costume. So he wears that, and then Joey is dressed as Superman. And one of my favorite parts is, I guess it's a little later in the episode, Chandler, there's been discussions, I guess, about, about the history of just Christmas and everything. And Chandler says,
Judaism.
huh?
Judaism. That's what
Judaism.
they're
Yeah,
talking
yeah, I'm
about.
sorry. But Chandler says my favorite part was when Superman flew the Jews out of Egypt. And you know that, Joey had tried to say that. And Ross is like, oh, yeah, the holiday armadillo wasn't so crazy about that. And
Yeah.
it's great. For the longest time on my Facebook page, I think I did it for 2 or 3 Christmas seasons in a row. I had a picture of, Joey as Superman and Ross as the holiday armadillo as my cover photo on there because I'm that nerdy guy.
I think every year I share the little meme that comes around and it's Phoebe going, Happy Christmas Eve, Eve. And I always go,
Yes.
It's my birthday, because that's my birthday.
That's true. Yeah. I'll always remember that now. Or at least,
Everyone will.
yeah, everyone will. Write it down, folks. So,
I
yeah,
get
that was my
forgotten
season.
every year.
There was my season 7. Now we're getting to, well, naturally season 8.
Is that how that works?
I think it does, at least right now. We might go
I'm
back to 6
surprised.
and you could tell me about that one episode for the third time.
It would be the fourth, honestly. Um, I like that's one of your first ones that you've chosen that's not a finale.
I know, right? Well,
Yeah, and it's a good
I'll be picking
finale.
another finale at some point.
Oh my God, predictable. Okay, so I'm going to go with the season 8, episode 4, the one with the videotape.
Oh, wait. Hmm.
I
Drawing a
can tell
blank right
you
now.
about
Please
it.
continue.
So let me paint you a picture.
Okay.
You're watching porn on accident because it's Ross and Rachel having sex, and that's how they figure out who came on to who for Rachel to have gotten pregnant with Emma.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes. I haven't seen, well, another one I haven't watched since the big marathon my wife and I did 7 or 8 years ago. So, yeah, that was a good one. That was a really good
So
one.
basically what it is it's that um it's very funny because Ross and Rachel are obviously expecting a baby. We know what the baby will be. It will be Emma. And
Played by one of the Sprouses, I believe.
yes, it's one of the Sprouses still. It's a really weird newborn look, but it's not as bad as Breaking Dawn. Um so Ross and Rachel are arguing at the beginning of the episode about who came on to whom in like to have this situation happen. and and no one believes Ross that Rachel would have come on to him. And he's like, it had been like 6 months. But she came on to me like it was mutual. And she goes, everyone's like, sure it was, buddy. He's like, I swear it is. And I know it because I have it on tape. And then everybody's like, what? And then you get more of the backstory, which is basically that he hadn't had sex in half a year, which not that long. Maybe it is. Maybe I should be sad. But he hadn't had sex in half a year. And so Joey's trying to train him and tell him this story about it's a fake story about backpacking through Europe, through like the something Andes, and how he comes across this waterfall and this woman and she's crying and he's explaining how to tell Ross the story and how it's guaranteed to work for sex. And which is so funny because he's like, practice, in a video camera. Because Rush tries it, he doesn't do the story right, and so it doesn't work. And so Joey's like, well, when I'm practicing for auditions, sometimes I'll practice in a video camera so I can look back and see what I've done wrong. And so that's what Ross had started when Rachel comes over. And Rachel comes over with the wedding invitations for the wedding that's also already happened of Chandler and Monica's. And
Right.
she's just like, Monica's gonna kill me. I was supposed to mail these 2 weeks ago, and she's gonna freak out. I have to finish, envelopes and everything. And then Rachel's sitting next to Monica in real time, and she's just like, and Monica's like, "Don't worry, honey. Everybody made it. It's not a problem." And then she like squeezes her hand too hard and she's like, "Oh, Monica, that actually kind of hurts." And she goes, and it's just a little bit of that like, dynamic. And then you go back to the video and the whole episode is kind of about like they pause it and they're talking about how like nobody uses fake names. And then Phoebe looks over and we get a good callback where Phoebe looks over at Joey and she goes, "Hi, uh, Regina Phalange," and he goes, "Ken Adams," and they shake hands. And then, they are doing the story again, and it turns out that Rachel is who came on to Ross because she starts telling the backpacking through Europe story, which it's so stupid that she starts the, "Have I ever told you about that time I backpacked across Eastern Europe?" Because they've known each other their whole lives.
Exactly.
He would have known at some point if that woman had backpacked across Eastern Europe. And so everyone looks at her and they go, "You came on to Ross." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "That's the story. That's the magic story you tell when you want to have sex." And she goes, "How do you know about that story?" And then Joey goes, "How do you know about that story?" And that's when they do the fake name thing. And she goes, "My friend told me about it. She heard about it from some guy named Ken Adams." And he points at himself and he goes, "Ken Adams," because that's his alias that he uses. And so I think it's really fun because you don't expect that Rachel would be who came on to Ross
Yeah,
because of their
that's right.
dynamic. And so it's cute. It's also funny to see everybody there and like all the moving pieces and um and then they pause it before it actually gets to the sex part, which is good because that's
Hmm.
a weird way to be friends. But then Ross and Rachel are going to go watch it later, and then they start watching it, and then you never see anything or hear anything, but you're just watching them, and they're like, "Oh God, oh my God, oh, turn it off," and like they panic, and that's the end, and it just cracks me up.
That's a really funny one. That's one that I want to rewatch again very soon too. That was
You're gonna have
hilarious.
to just watch the whole show.
I know. I'm gonna have to do that, and because you and I have talked about this off air, but I had dumped Max for a while, but now I have Max again, so I have all the Friends episodes right there whenever I want them. So
Did you do Peacemaker yet?
I have not done Peacemaker yet, but yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
Both myself and John Cena are upset at you.
Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Cena, I
And
was
he could
expecting, but you, I thought I was gonna be able to hold on to you as a friend.
I didn't say we're not friends. You gotta pump the drama, friends writer. I'm just saying I'm disappointed.
Okay, well, I'll add that to my very long to be watched list, and
What
I
do you
will
mean
cover.
add it? I gave that to you 2 months ago.
No, but I lost that list, so I need to create
Oh
it.
my God.
I've been busy. I've been busy. I guess I'll put it on my phone. I'll put it on my phone. Like, hey Siri, take note.
What do you want it to say?
Watch that Peacemaker thing that what's her name talked about.
What's her name?
What's her name? Wait.
I'm not telling you my name.
Yeah.
And and don't forget, you're also needing to watch I Think You Should Leave Now by Tim Robinson.
Okay.
So that you too can be the best hog.
Hey, that's a fella's got a dream, I guess.
Mhm.
Anyway, my season 8 episode, that was a season. I looked through the list of the titles, and while there were plenty of things that I liked, none were like jumping out as like, oh my God, I love that. But I know when I go and rewatch them, I'll be like, oh yeah, this was great. This was great. This was
Mhm.
great. The one that I wrote down was very memorable, particularly for the ending of it. And that was the second episode of the season, the one with the red sweater. Because at that point, none of us know. We know that Rachel is pregnant.
Mhm.
We don't know who the father of this baby is. And all we know is that I guess a red sweater was left in, was it her apartment? I assume, or no, she had to go back and get this. Oh wait, yeah, it was at her place. That's right. And then at the very end, and there's thoughts that it may have been, was Tag the guy that she was dating? Yeah. Yeah, I think she had worked with him. He was her assistant in multiple episodes at Bloomingdale's. Is that where she worked at that point?
I think she's at Ralph Lauren at that point.
I think you're right, but that's irrelevant. Anyway, it seems like he may have been the one, and then at the very end, you see Ross show up, and he's like, "Oh, there's my red sweater."
My
So
sweater.
yeah, so the audience and I guess whoever else, I think a couple other characters were around when that happened, right?
Everyone was
Oh, was
except
everyone
Ross and
there?
Rachel.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they were all there or not.
Aside from Ross and Rachel, they're there because they all go like,
Yeah, okay. But I that was a really good episode. I remember particularly, like I said, that ending, which obviously I didn't totally remember, but I remember it for the most part.
"Hey, you've got it. It's that you
Thank you.
can't have this brain. It's weird in here."
I have no doubt. So hey, let's move on to the penultimate season. I love using that word.
Ah, season 9. I do
Season
too.
9.
I've loved it since I read A Series of Unfortunate Events as a child. So this is one of the seasons where I actually had a hard time where I'm like, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
which one do I actually care to choose? Um, but I think because of one specific part, it's going to be season 9, episode 15, the one with the mugging. So we haven't talked about Phoebe's background very much, but she witnessed her mom choosing to take her life basically. I don't think she witnesses it, but she has to deal with the aftermath. And so she ends up being homeless and kind of scrappy and hungry as a young teen and sometimes needed to mug people for money.
Right.
And Ross is telling this tragic tale of this giant football player sized man who mugged him when he was um when he was a kid. And
Right.
this comes up because Ross and Phoebe were out together and somebody attempts to mug them and Ross is like giving them everything, which to be fair is technically the smart thing to do
Yeah,
because
it is the smart thing.
nothing you're holding on to is probably worth your life. And I think the Waynes learned that the best.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those Waynes, they learned the hard way.
Um, so Phoebe goes, "No, I'm not giving you anything." And then she looks at the guy and she recognizes him and they're good friends and like it ends up not being a mugging, but like a
Little reunion
a
between.
reunion. I
Yeah.
forgot the word, thank you. And so like Ross is incredibly upset. I think one of my favorite lines that he says is when she's like, "No, I won't give you anything." And he goes, "I knew you'd be the death of me, Phoebe Buffet." um, and so they go back to Central Perk and he's like, "We were almost just mugged. It's okay though. Phoebe knew the mugger." And that's when Monica brings up like, "Oh, that must be really hard for you because of when you were mugged." And Phoebe's hearing the story for the first time and she's just kind of like, and then Ross leaves and she goes, hey. And we find out that the giant guy who mugged Ross is Phoebe and that she knows it's him because his backpack had a sticker on it that says geology rocks.
Oh my god.
And
Yes, I
her and
forgot about
Monica
that.
both say that at the same time, which is so funny to me. And what else is kind of and it's a really sweet episode too because Phoebe feels guilty immediately and then goes and tells Ross like, "Hey, I know that the person who mugged you was a 14-year-old girl." And he's like, "No, it was a big guy." And she goes, "I know it was a 14-year-old girl, Ross." And he's like, "No, Phoebe, it wasn't." And she grabs his ear, which is I guess what she did. Grabs his ear and goes, "Give me all your money, punk." And he goes, like all the trauma. And she's like, yeah. And he's really upset. But then she reveals that by looking through his backpack, she found his comic book, which he had been doing a comic book called Science Boy,
Oh my
which
gosh.
sounds really nerdy, but honestly, if you're a kid and that's like your passion, like go for it, do stuff like even if you're an adult. I love that he was doing that.
Yeah.
And I love even more is that Phoebe kept it and he's like, "Why would you keep it all these years?" And she's like, "Well, because he taught me stuff." And I love that. I thought it was really good,
Yeah.
and I think it's so like it's a tragic thing that happened that they're able to make beautiful and spin into a closer relationship. And she's like, I really like this because you guys either grew up together, you've been friends forever, and I kind of came in later. And now, like we finally have a story from back then. And she was like, "Isn't that great?" And he goes, "The story's not great, but it's like you can feel how much she just wants to get to be a part of something."
Yeah.
And I think that that's really beautiful.
Yeah, me too. And I had forgotten a lot of that. And yeah, that was really nice. It was a really some great Phoebe moments there. And just such a funny idea for an episode.
I
I
mean, the
mean,
writers are brilliant. They might
oh,
be dramatic,
absolutely.
but they're brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that was a good one. And for me, nine, I actually another yeah, like you. I don't think I was crazy about all the storylines that were going on. Oh, wait, are we in? We're
We are a 9,
yeah, we are in nine. Okay, thank you. I
penultimate.
can't read my own writing sometimes. But one I actually wrote down two, but I'm going to go with the one that stands out the most, and that is the one with the rumor, which is another Thanksgiving episode. And this co-starred Jennifer Aniston's
Brad Pitt.
husband at the time, Brad Pitt, who had, I guess, gone to high school with Rachel and Monica, and he was nerdy, but wasn't he like
And Ross.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And Ross. That's right. And yeah, that's how he's there because he's an old friend of Ross's, I think, that Ross ran into.
Yes.
But he, I guess, he comes into this with like this absolute loathing for Rachel because of the way that she had treated him back in high school. And I think he might have been overweight at the time too, and that might have been part of it. Um, but it was funny in a large part because at the time, they were the it couple when this was filmed, and I remember it very well. They were in the front of every magazine together, and just at that time, so in love. And you saw his character just so hating her, and some of the looks he gave her. And Rachel was finding them hot because she said he had like
She
this.
thought he was flirting. Yeah.
Yeah, she thought he was flirting and had this intense, like seething look on his face, and that was not the case. And so that was really funny. I liked that one a lot. I'm gonna cheat here, and I'm just saying the other one. I also wrote down. Well, there was a couple, but I'm not going to cheat because one of these might be yours. So why don't we talk about yours, and I'll tell you if
But
they
I've
have.
already done season 9. I just did mine.
You just did. I really didn't sleep enough last night. I'll be honest
Do
with
you
you.
need a snack?
It seems like it. Um, but anyway, the other
So
ones that
now you can cheat.
I'm gonna cheat. It's my show. I'm gonna cheat. And
Yeah.
that is number 12. It was the one where Joey dates Rachel, where I guess he was pretending to date her, I believe, but then he actually seemed to really start developing feelings for her.
This is
Was
not
that
where
it?
he pretends to date her. What it is that she goes on a bad date and she's like, "You found out I was pregnant," and basically was not interested. And he goes, "I'll take you out. I'll treat you really nice." And I just
Yes,
love
thank you.
that.
Yeah, that was it. And then, yeah, you and I had talked about this before, and I can't remember if we did it in one of these episodes or off air, but it was Joey talking, well, just saying the way Joey changed throughout the course of the show. That's right. We did talk about that in
Oh
the
yeah,
first
we
part.
did talk about that.
Yeah, it was in the first part. And, this is where you really got to see, not that we never saw any deep feelings from Joey before, but it was pretty intense. Like just suddenly this realization, like, wow, I'm really falling for Rachel here, and it was touching, and I liked that. And the other one that I'll cheat here was the very end of the season, another season finale, the one where Rachel has a baby.
You have 3 cheats for this season.
I do. Yeah, there you go. Well, actually, 4 if you count. That was a two-parter. So, well, I guess that would be 3 cheats. Anyway, those were great too, where Rachel had the baby, and Janice
Yeah.
was there in the hospital having a baby too at the same time, and
Do I need to do my impression again?
you absolutely need to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, here is an impression of Janice performed by Candace Estelle.
Oh my
Impression.
God. Oh my God. Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Fantastic.
That's that Juilliard training that I don't have. Um,
I find
yeah,
it hard to
no,
believe that you don't have it after seeing that.
I know, right? That's the other part, right?
Yeah, very
Oh
good.
God. It's just
Very good.
it's so annoying to hear that even when I'm doing it, I'm like, God, I hate this.
But you know, every Friends fan probably does that at one point or another. It's so
For
iconic.
sure. Probably that, and they probably go, could I be any more funny? Or if you're doing Joey doing Chandler, you have to go, could I be wearing any
Wearing
more
any more
clothes?
clothes? That was so great. So great.
That's one of my favorites too, but that's way earlier on when it's a lot harder to pick just one. I didn't
Yeah.
know we could cheat.
Well, sorry.
But I really love the Rachel Joey storyline. A lot of people are like, "Oh,
Yeah.
it's garbage. Why would they do that? Throw away, blah blah blah."
I
For
liked
one,
it.
they lived together and Joey treats Rachel better than Ross did. You
Mm-hmm.
know, sees her as a person, is very loving towards her. Um, and they just have that deep friendship. I also was always really surprised that Joey didn't end up with Phoebe because they also have a
Mm-hmm.
similar thing. But I think the writers did something smart there where it's not that everyone ends up coupling up at the end.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree.
so Phoebe goes on to get to do something. It's a little disappointing that Joey doesn't get to go on to do something. At least it was for me when I was younger. Now that I'm older, it's like that show ended and Joey was what, 32, 33. That's completely plausible that he hadn't yet found his
Yeah.
person. And I think that's fine. But I love that storyline. I'm always really disappointed that it ends the way it does, but I'm glad it did because I don't trust those writers to have not made it really dramatic and never let them end up together regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they could have, but I think fans at that time were so for one, we didn't have necessarily the standards we have now for relationships, so people still, shipped Ross and Rachel, even though that wasn't a healthy relationship. And two, they just weren't going to let it happen with her and Joey. But I thought it was really sweet. And I
Yeah, me too.
appreciated how much they like came into it together and then when they give it a try. And it's a bummer that it doesn't work out. But it's understandable.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice that they remain friends and can just move on past that.
Yeah, me too. It was interesting circumstances all throughout. You know, when you bring in like Charlie and everything, which actually leads us into the next season. Is that right? Is wait season? Yeah. Wait a
The
second.
last season, season 10 now, you guys. Buddy, we are going to talk about season
We're going to talk about
10.
season 10, the final season of Friends.
You go ahead and do yours first because you're going to forget whether I go or not. So just
Thanks for the faith there, friend.
Mhm.
In your final appearance on my show. Uh, I'm kidding, of course. I really want that mug. That mug is so awesome.
My burger mug?
Yeah, and we mentioned it in the previous episode, but I'll mention it to give it props here for people who didn't see the first episode. It's inspired by Bob's Burger Wonderland or whatever that show is that you like that I haven't seen.
Just Bob's
John
Burgers.
Cena's in it, right?
No, this is just a cheeseburger mug. I got it because I'll do a Bob's Burgers series eventually on the podcast and because I collect mugs. The burger.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, one of my favorites is another one with a big guest star. They had a lot of big guest stars throughout the run of Friends, and this
Yep.
is the one where the stripper cries. And there was a stripper hired for Phoebe's bachelor party, played by Danny DeVito, the legendary actor Danny DeVito, and maybe I'm not picking it. I'm picking it mainly because of DeVito's appearance in it. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. Now there's other great episodes that season too, but including a lot at the beginning of the season, like wrapping up the whole Barbados storyline. But I thought that was an exceptional episode.
I mean, Danny DeVito is such a treasure, you know?
Yeah,
Like
I
I
know
just feel
you're a
like
big fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I need to get back to at some point. I've seen, I think, the first 3 or 4 seasons. That's it.
it's such a it's hard for me to ever recommend the show because it's so
It's so very wrong.
messed up. It's so
Yeah.
messed up that I'm just like, please don't judge me. But then also like my favorite part of it, and I went on a huge diatribe when you and I were just chatting last a few times ago, um, where I was just like explaining to you the character of Rickety Cricket.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And just his like delusion of bad luck because of the gang. But it's not a show where I'm like proud that I like it. Not because it's a bad show, but just because it's like, oh, what do you laugh at? Plane crashes and children falling off their bicycles. And it's like, and if that was a show, it's Sunny. I love it. And I even watch like the Sunny podcast.
Oh, okay.
I love watching the boys and like their banter and like it's so cute. They're literally just like brothers. And like Rob McElhenney, and I told you to watch Mythic Quest last time. Now it's on air, so when you don't watch it, at least other people can also give you guff about it. But that's his other show he does now. Aside from the Wrexham one he does with Ryan Reynolds. And he goes on and he like um they hate their theme song that they did because they didn't license it, so now people can use it for whatever. So he hears it all the time. And like he hates the title. He's like, it's too long. It makes no sense. It is what it is. But like everyone loves it. We're just all in. And he's just like, there are so many things I would change. He's just so grumpy about it sometimes. But yeah, I love It's Always Sunny. We can't go into that. You need to just watch it and then we'll do an episode or 7, apparently.
but uh but anyway, yeah, DeVito. I've liked DeVito ever since he was on Taxi back in the late. I think it started in the late '70s, ran into early '80s. So I loved him in this episode. So
Did you
that's
hear how he got that role?
Taxi role.
Yeah. Are you aware of that lore?
If I am, I forgot. So tell me what you know.
So I'm not I've not seen Taxi because I am not old enough for that to have been in
You're like
syndication.
41, 42. So...
How about you eat a bag of like I am not allowed to say it, but let me let you know.
No, no, no. You are quite much younger than that. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Cheese and crackers. But also if I look like this at 41, I'd be like really impressed. Good for me. Um No. So apparently to get it in the audition, he came in, had the script and was like, this script is, crap, except he used an expletive, which I miss. I miss you expletives. I'll be back soon. And then he was like, it's garbage and like threw a huge tantrum and then just walked out. And then he walked right back in and he was like, so that's what you guys want, right? And that's how he got hired.
Oh, that's fantastic because that's totally
So
his
I've not
character,
I've
Louis.
not seen it. So I don't I get the gist because I'm like, he must be a jerk in this show, but I've not seen it. So
Yeah,
is that accurate?
that is very accurate. Very accurate.
Okay.
And
For
I
me,
don't
I
know how
think
you would like the show. I mean, it's very, very, very brilliant writing, and it's a wonderful cast. Matter of fact, I want to say that one of the chief directors for that, the main director, might have been James Burrows, who directed the majority of the episodes of Friends. Um, so it's not saying it's a lot like Friends, but Taxi was a really good series.
you know how Taxi and Friends are basically the same show.
There you go. That's why.
Yeah,
But
no.
anyway, yeah, DeVito is awesome.
My first thing I remember seeing Danny DeVito in, I hated him. I hated him as a child. Because the first thing I see him in is Matilda. He's a jerk.
I've
And
never
then
seen
the
that.
next thing it's wonderful. Roald Dahl was like one of my favorite authors as a child,
Oh,
and
okay.
Matilda is a Roald Dahl book. You should oh, he's brilliant. He was like in World War II and he lost one of his kids to I believe like polio. Um he, again, that could be a book buddies thing. We could talk about Roald Dahl.
Oh, okay.
Um but
Matilda was the first place you saw him, and
yeah,
then you were about to say
that's
something
the
else.
first thing I saw him in is Matilda, and he plays Matilda's father, who's awful and abusive. And Matilda's mother is Rhea Perlman, which is his wife
Oh, yeah.
IRL, which I love. And Matilda's mother was passing away from cancer. And while she was too sick to care for Mara Wilson, who plays the titular character Matilda, he took her in. Him and Rhea
Oh,
took
okay.
her in while her mother was sick, and he got her a copy of Matilda before it came out so she could watch it before she passed away,
Oh, wow.
which
Wow.
even Mara didn't know until she was an adult, which is lovely. I found that out as an adult. As a child, I hated him. He was horrible because he was so scary. Because I saw him in that, and then the next thing I see him in, he's the penguin. And that
Oh,
scared the
yeah.
daylights out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a creepy penguin.
He's terrifying. And like now I think I could watch it and be like, Danny, what are you even doing? But as a kid, I was like,
Yeah.
Like my two favorite animals, I love cats, I love orcas, and I love penguins. And in that movie, it was like cats and penguins were just up to no good.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not great. So yeah, it wasn't until I watched Sunny where I was more aware of Danny DeVito because I'd seen him in stuff, but like I said, for the most part, he was scary to me.
Yeah, understandable.
And he's a horrible person and It's Always Sunny as Frank. But then people tell you stories and you get all the lore and you're like, what a wonderful little human, you know? What
Yeah,
like I love just people. And I
yeah.
love hearing these stories about like here's this Hollywood bigwig who's an angel.
Yeah, and it's funny. We're talking about him when we mentioned Taxi, and it made me think of him being on there with Tony Danza. And of course, there's a famous Tony Danza reference in Friends where Phoebe is referring to Elton John's Tiny Dancer, and she thought it was Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza, as opposed to Hold Me Closer, Tiny Dancer. And ever
Yeah.
since then, it's hard for me to hear Elton John's Tiny Dancer without thinking of that line.
Yeah. Hold me close, young Tony Danza.
Danza. So glad. Very good there. Very good Phoebe impression.
Yeah, I'm just
So
great at it.
so give me a season 10 favorite here, my friend.
Mm. My favorite that I chose was the one with Ross's tan, episode 3.
I don't remember that by the title alone.
Oh, but you will. It's the one where Ross is going to go on a date with one of Monica's chefs, Mona, who he ends up treating absolutely abhorrently.
Oh yeah.
Um, but he wants to really impress her. And Monica gets a spray tan on her legs. And I think one of my favorite parts of that is that they're all sitting at Central Park, and Ross is like checking out Monica's legs, and Chandler keeps like noticing, and he looks at
Oh
him and he goes,
yeah.
"Wait, stop looking at my wife's legs." And he goes, "No, no, stop staring at your sister's leg." And he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just noticed how tan you were." And I'm like, he wasn't doing anything dirty. It's just how it looked, you know? And he was like, "I just noticed, how your legs look really great." And she goes, "Oh yeah, I went to this place and blah blah blah." Um,
Of
and so he
course I
goes
remember it
to
now.
yeah, he goes to a spray tan place, and one of my favorites, and like it's so like it's exact I used to work at a tanning salon.
Oh,
So for
okay.
me, it's also one of those things where this is absolutely something that would happen is people would go, "What can I do to look like you?" And Ross says that, and the guy's response is like, "I'm Puerto Rican." And he goes, "Great, so just the two then." And Ross messes it up, which I have to let you know, I've seen some people of all intelligences tan, and nobody else has had this issue. Um, he
He
messes it
messes
up
it
and he
up big time.
accidentally gets 2 on the front, and then he tells the guy, and the guy's like, "You got 2 twos? That means you are 4." That's also not how that works. Um, and so he is like, "Well, I gotta even it out, right?" And he goes, I guess." And he goes, "You guess." And so he's gonna get 2 twos on his back now, but he's in a different machine. So it works differently. So he accidentally gets sprayed on his front again, and then he tries to turn to fix it and gets sprayed on the front again because it has nozzles on both sides.
It
So
was
now
so
he an 8.
funny.
And so the guy's like, "I don't know what to do." So he just goes home. He's like uneven, but what else? It's just
Oh my god,
it's
he's so
funny.
dark. And is that where he had his teeth whitened too?
No, and I was confounding it in my head, that's what I was about to say, but
Yeah,
it's because he's so dark that his
right. That
teeth
his
look
teeth.
like they're
Yes.
glowing. That's a different time that he's going to do that, because that's the time where, like, Monica tries to help him do makeup, and he goes, "We're not 13 anymore," because which is just so cute. Um, but yeah, no, this is just where he does the tanning, and then he shows up, and Chandler looks at him and he goes, "Oh my God." And he goes, "Yeah, I went to that place your wife recommended." And he goes, "Was that place the Sun?"
Perry's delivery, always so perfect.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Wow. Yes, that was a great one. That was a great one. And why don't we talk about where it all ended and
Hold
what?
on. Now, I didn't get to talk about one other storyline that happens in this one, which is that we get a Jennifer Coolidge cameo.
Oh,
And Jennifer
yes.
Coolidge is very much so being Madonna, where she had moved to the UK and now she's pretending that she has a British accent when she's coming back to visit. And it's
That's
so
right.
bad. It's so bad. And I think one of my favorite lines that Monica has in this one is Jennifer Coolidge leaves her a voicemail and she's like, Monica, darling, it's, whatever speaking. Call me back when you get the chance. And that's exactly how that accent sounds. That's not me doing a bad British accent. That's me doing a perfect that accent.
Right. Yeah. No,
And
I think
then
you nailed
Monica
it. I
like is
remember that.
yeah. And then Monica like screams at the voicemail and she's like, you're from Yonkers. Your last name is Buffamontese. And I was just like, I don't know why, but Buffamontese made me laugh so hard as a kid. Um, so it's really funny. But yes, now let's go to the finale.
Yeah, and just props again to Jennifer Coolidge, always so good in everything. And did you know she actually became a recurring character on Joey later on, different character?
No,
No, anyway,
that show
not
did
it's
not
not
keep
worth
my
watching the show
attention.
to check that out. Sorry, Mr. LeBlanc. Okay, the final episode was called The Last One, and it was pretty epic. A lot happened in that episode. I think one of the highest rated probably television series of all time, or television episodes rather. So much happened there. All the storylines got resolved really well, and I don't know what to say about that. What I'd love to, one thing that was kind of neat was at the very end of it where they're leaving the main apartment for the last time, and they're going out, and they say they should go get coffee, and Chandler just says, "Where?" And apparently it was an ad lib. Matthew Perry just ad libbed that on the spot, which I think is kind of neat because obviously we know where they're going for coffee. And there was, yes, we didn't show it in this episode, but we have a little Lego. There we go. Isn't that
For
wonderful? Special for
1999. No, this was way more than
I
so
love
much.
it. I love it. But
You
there was,
know, Matthew Perry asked to have the last word in the show.
oh, is that right? I did not know that. Oh, how about
Yep.
that? That's pretty cool. I
So
think
his sure where might have been ad libbed, but it's
yeah.
also like
I think that
he
might have been. I think that might have come out in the reunion that they did. Did you see the thing they did on Max a couple of years ago? They all got
no,
back together.
I wanted to, and then I was like, I'm gonna save it because this
Yeah,
is the last thing I'm probably ever gonna get. And
yeah,
then he passed away, and I thought, can't watch it.
yeah. I understand that. Totally
I'd
understand.
like to, but I just haven't yet.
Yeah, and I get that. I'll rewatch it again at some point because there's a lot of good stuff in there. But yeah, it was a great final episode. I found something out neat about it. Apparently, when you see well, this is where Monica and Chandler they have their newborns in this, and when they're holding their newborns, you can hear a nurse on an intercom paging Dr. Matthew Perry. I found that out while researching that, which I think is obviously a cool tie-in there. But yeah, you had them becoming parents, and of course Ross and Rachel. Rachel was for the audio listeners, you didn't just see Candace roll her eyes at that, but it's pretty epic. I mean, it looked like Rachel might be moving to France for her job, and she
Or her
leaves
dream job,
for her dream job.
where she
And
spent the last 10 years working on her career and becoming her own person.
mm-hmm.
Let's just
But
add all of that together.
yeah, and then you've got well, she doesn't go to that dream job because of Ross, and yeah, they end up together, which is nice. Apparently, you weren't too crazy about it.
I just don't understand why she has to give up her dream job.
Exactly.
Like he
Yeah.
had already lost his tenure for being weird,
Oh,
you
I
know?
forgot that he had lost his tenure. Yeah, for
Yeah,
dating the
because
one
of his
student.
rage.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like he doesn't work at, or maybe he gets tenure. I don't know, but like
I can't remember what happened with that.
my point is her thing was way bigger. He couldn't have gone to Paris, and like I wish they would have shown that in some way. Like maybe she gets off the plane and he goes with her later. Like, but that was never even an option because even when they sleep together in the first part of the finale, and he's just like, I think this means that she's going to stay, and it's like maybe you could sacrifice something,
Yeah.
anything.
Did that maybe come up at some point because of I don't know. I'm getting an inkling that at some point he said he couldn't do that because Ben was in New York, and that he couldn't
Yes.
move to France. Okay, but
That
still,
is
there's
not
ways that could have worked too.
that is not brought up for this. That is brought up when he won't move to London for Emily.
Oh, okay,
Because if we're being
gotcha. I knew it was
honest,
somewhere.
after the Holiday Armadillo episode, I don't think we ever see Ben again. We don't see him in the last three seasons, 8, 9, or 10.
Really? Okay. Wow. How
Yeah.
about that? Well,
So,
so there we go. So you now, other than that, did you like elements of the finale? I mean, at the
I
probably the
mean,
Monica and Chandler stuff.
here's the thing is I don't even hate that. I just wish it wasn't so trite. It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, did she get off the plane? I got off the plane. How about he offers to go with her and she's like, "I could never ask you to do that. You've got your life here." And he could have been like, "You're my life. Emma's my life. Ben is also my life, but he has Carol and Susan and I can visit whenever something. It's a
Yeah.
6-hour freaking flight from New
Yeah.
York to Paris. Like grow up. The woman does not have to be who
Yeah.
gives up everything all the time." Um and it just is a little frustrating to me, especially because, like I said, I don't feel like he treats her very well.
Yeah. You're right.
He doesn't
Absolutely.
have a redemption arc really. It's just that time passes, and that's not the same thing. Um, and so that's a little frustrating. It's not that I hate that they're together, which a lot of people just hate that they're together at all. For me, it's like when you're bound to someone, you're bound to someone, but they have to grow a little bit. And he didn't feel like he really ever grew, you
Yeah.
know? Like Ross's character for 10 years, I don't feel like grows ever.
That's a really good point. You don't really, obviously, he and all the other characters go through a whole lot of different situations. And yeah, he doesn't really change. We mentioned earlier how you see Chandler change, you see Joey change, you see all of them change, really, except for
Everyone
Ross.
changes except
Yeah.
for Ross. Monica probably also doesn't change as much, but she does in the fact that like she was already the best, obviously. But like she becomes a little bit more calm,
Yeah.
she becomes a little bit more uh accepting of like things outside of her control. But like Chandler grows up a hell of a lot. He goes from someone who doesn't feel like he's worthy of love and has commitment issues because of his parents to having both of his parents at his wedding and getting married and becoming a father. And
Yeah.
Joey goes from a struggling actor to someone with a lot of depth. He's still not necessarily doing great as an actor. He's getting there. But there's Phoebe really changes. It changes careers, gets married. And then you
Yeah.
just have Ross who behaves the same way throughout. Rachel has the biggest change. It goes
Oh,
Rachel and the
absolutely.
father,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Rachel literally pulls herself up from nothing basically and creates a whole life for herself.
Yeah. I mean, the
So
first time we see her, she's in one of the worst moments ever of her life. Leaving in a lot of ways. Leaving her wedding, obviously, um, jobless, no, not really sure where she's going, and you kind of want her
jobless,
to have
cut
the
off.
ultimate happy ending. I'm sorry, could you say that again?
She's also cut off
Yeah, yeah, she's cut off, and yeah, she obviously goes through the most changes of all the characters, and yeah, it would have
and
been
positive
interesting if,
changes.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you know,
So
yeah,
it
she
just
and she
feels
was
like
like you said, she was on the way to her dream job that she had worked so hard for.
yeah, and it's not even just that, it just feels like, especially with 90s and early 2000s stuff and older, is it's like he's owed her because he likes her, so that's what he gets what he wants because that's the way the world works, and that's not how it works, and that's not how it should work because she's not property, you
Yeah,
know? And no, he
absolutely.
didn't try to stop her necessarily from going, but there was that, like, feeling of it, and it's just a bummer that the writers couldn't even see past the possibility that he could also sacrifice something
Yeah,
because he really wouldn't even be sacrificing. He could go work at, the Louvre
yeah, yeah. And
in the
while
archaeology area. That'd be fantastic, you
yeah,
know?
and I can see that, maybe they wanted, all the friends to still be together at the end of the series, but they didn't need to go that route. I mean,
They immediately undo that because Joey came out the same year and he's in LA all of a sudden.
yeah. exactly. And we
And
know too that like Chandler and Monica, was it? Did they move?
Chandler and Monica had just moved away.
Yeah, or out of the city anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, and of
they had
course,
already
Phoebe was
moved.
starting her new life with Mike, and
They could have done that and it would have made sense,
yeah,
but that's a little bit more new agey for than when this came out. I loved that Monica and Chandler end up having twins. My favorite is Erica being like, two babies? What? Two babies? And she goes, well, yeah, they said that both heartbeats were really strong, but I always just thought they were saying mine and the babies. And I thought, whoa, that's really good because I'm having a baby, and like and so them getting a boy and a girl is great because,
yeah,
they had to adopt.
yeah,
They can't have kids naturally. So the fact that they got their dream, which is like one of each, two kids, she always wanted more than one kid,
yeah,
and he wanted that. And so it's nice that that gets fulfilled and they're moving and, their
yeah,
life is good. Chandler does make a huge change as well, like I said, with his changing in how he is with commitment and how immature he is, but also he changes his career and kind of
yeah,
later, he
yeah.
goes
That's
from
right.
being a transponster to in advertising.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And shout out to that episode because the trivia episode is one of my favorites as well.
Oh, that was great. Oh yeah. What is but the question, what is it? What does Chandler do for a living? Or what is Chandler's
What is
job?
Chandler Bing's job?
Job. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Yeah, that was a really good episode.
That's a very good one. That's an honorable mention. I think the episode with the girl switch the apartments back is an honorable mention.
Yes, yes. And
And
that's
it's not that those ones wouldn't, like, if we were doing my favorites without it having to be per season, those would have been in it. But I could
oh,
only
okay.
choose one per season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, those are so good. So
They're
so
very good.
yeah.
I love that Phoebe gets to be married. I
Yeah,
just love it
me
because
too.
she so much deserved having a family and having that normalcy. And she gets a little bit of family with Frank, but like Ursula's not around and never really is.
Yeah.
Her mom is obviously not around. She finds out she has a birth mother in season 3, you
Yeah.
know?
And it's Terry
Um,
Garr. Yeah.
and then that woman never comes back after telling her not to be a surrogate.
Yeah.
It never comes back. She's, her stepfather's in jail. Her father abandoned her as a baby. So for me, it was like good for her to finally have somebody there who loves
Yeah.
her in all of her strangeness
Yeah.
and is Paul Rudd. Like,
Yeah, of course. And I had heard that that wasn't supposed to be an ongoing character at first, but then,
nope,
Paul Rudd
people
played
loved
it so
him.
well and they loved him and I think he's like sort of I think on the same sort of level as a Tom Hanks where everybody likes Paul Rudd.
Yeah,
He's just such a likable guy.
yeah.
Such a talented
He's
actor.
wonderful.
Yeah.
No, they had
He
originally
ages
thought,
horribly though. I mean,
oh my God, he looks just, what is he, 30 now with how he's looking? Um, yeah, no, the only thing, the writers originally, when they wrote David, they expected to bring him back in the end to be the end result for Phoebe's character. That was how it was planned from the beginning, is that she'll end up with David at the end. They
I didn't
never
know
find each
that.
other. Yeah, and then they ended up loving Paul Rudd so much, we did, that's why they bring Hank Azaria back for that little bit of time where like Phoebe and Mike break up and David comes back. And that's why they have that talk about like, had you never went to Minsk, maybe we would be married and maybe it would
Hmm.
be different, but that's not what happened and things changed
Yeah.
and I'm with Mike now. And I love that because I love that they were able to pick it up and change it, but also I love that that's very realistic
It
because
is.
I think it would be beautiful, but also a little ridiculous to be like that one guy that you hung out with for 1 week. It's that idealizing thing again, right? Like I'm waiting for someone else, and everyone for the last 9 years was a placeholder.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they didn't do that because they did that quite a bit. So I'm
Hmm.
glad they didn't do that here
Yeah.
because
Me too.
that's not how humans really are. You might be someone who pines and chooses to marry someone you don't truly love and all that, but that is not something I think should be emulated,
Yeah, I agree. I
especially
agree.
not as if it's a positive thing. Like they end up together in the end. That's not positive.
Yeah.
That's a weird message.
Yeah, you're right.
Not
I,
healthy.
no, it's not. I agree with you. And yeah, I was happy that Phoebe got her happy ending there because
I love it.
yeah, because sort of like Joey, she didn't have like a long lasting relationship. I mean, she had a little better luck than Joey did, but you mentioned it earlier. I can't remember if it was this part or the earlier part, but none of her boyfriends throughout the series lasted more than a few episodes. I remember she dated.
No, I mean Mike Rappaport is the longest running
Yeah, I was just
one.
going to bring him up. Yeah, and yeah, there were some entertaining moments in that one too. But yeah, I was really happy the way that ended up for Phoebe. And speaking of ending things up, this was fun.
It was cool. I'd do it again.
Well, great. Well, great. So we will. I'm sure we'll maybe find something to talk about. I don't know.
You and I find something to talk about.
Being a little sarcastic. Yeah, I'm sure there were like we could do 50 episodes.
I love that you explained that as if my tone was not obviously sarcastic
I know. For those who are watching or listening who don't fully get us.
or sarcasm.
Yes, or sarcasm, because there's some out there, you know.
Yes.
I'm
We do
surprised they would have
hear
made it this far into the episode, but
I mean, I don't know. We are charming for
you're,
any brain.
that's a darn good point. It's a perfect point to end on, I think.
Yeah.
Candace Estelle.
Enjoy our charm. Oh, I believe I should be plugging something, right?
Yeah, this is the plugging section of Gotta Pop. And
Yes.
there's a lot we could plug with you. Oh my God. There's a lot of things that you've got going on that are wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I think my
Including,
absolute favorite part is that that was nonverbal on my end. So all anyone would hear if they're not watching is just you panicking for some reason.
so
Don't explain it.
let's promote
Don't
some of
ex-
your things. So you have a podcast, I believe.
You believe? I believe. Yes, I do have a podcast. Also, Buddy has decided to step down running the publication that I wrote for him, with him on. Oh my God.
Which was called
I'm good with
Plethora
the
of
words.
Pop.
Yep, Plethora of Pop. It's defunct as of today.
Yes, it will. By the
And
time this airs, it will cease to exist.
yeah, which is interesting that this is the day we ended up, actually filming.
Yeah, how
Um,
about that?
but in its
And it's Friday the
stead,
13th.
which is very lucky. But in
It
its
is.
stead, something else has grown, and that is Infinite Pop, which is a new publication on Medium. It's a blog again for pop culture, um, books, TV, movies, music, but also games because I love gaming. I play Fortnite every day, and I love games. So I've added that. I've got already about 10 writers. We've got plenty of stories already going on.
I'm going
So
to be
you can
doing some
check
writing
out,
there myself. I'm looking forward to
yeah,
sharing some things there.
you already have shared some stuff, and we're
Well, yeah, there's
gonna
some new
keep
stuff. Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
We've got some cool prompts going on for October. So if you're someone who's wanting to write, you should check out the publication and look into it. And obviously, you like pop culture, so you should just follow the publication.
Yes.
But most importantly, is that in October, I am doing Spooky Season 2024, and I am working my great ass off on it because it is an episode of my Binge It Babe podcast every single day, as well as a corresponding article on the podcast once a week. And I am
That is
doing
impressive.
it is exhausting so
I am
far.
sure. I am
Um,
sure it is.
I'm happy but tired. And so I'm going to be going through some classic or not so classic or maybe not so well known horror thriller or horror comedy picks um for the month of October. So I've already finished, the first week. I've got a couple dozen more to do, watching a lot of stuff, and then, corresponding articles, great little podcast episodes. So I would really love and appreciate it if you went and followed and loved Binge It Babe and shared it, because I did the math and just watching this stuff is about 1,500 hours worth of stuff. And that's not including any of the writing or any of the podcasting or anything like that.
Wow.
So it is
Wow.
a crazy big month of content that we're bringing.
I'm
And
very excited
then
about it.
the last thing I will talk about is the other publication I run, which is We're All Women, which is stories written by a woman about other women. So I just interview women, for the ones who are interested in it. I also film it, kind of like how I'm doing this with Buddy, and put that up on my YouTube. And then it also will have a corresponding article. So if you're a woman who would like to be interviewed, or you know a woman who would like to be interviewed, or you want to read about various women's stories, check that out too. And Buddy will add all of the links because that's
I will.
his
I will.
job.
Thank you. I will. I will add all the links. And all I can say at this point is thank you so much. I had so much fun talking about Friends with you, my friend.
I mean, we always have so much fun
We
together.
do, we do, and I hope anyone who's watched this or listened to this has had a lot of fun too. Friends is, I don't know, there's a reason why it's one of the most popular television series of all time. It was just so good. We obviously love it a lot. I'm gonna love it for the rest of my life, so another 70, 75 years, I would guess. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Thank you again, Candace Estelle.
Absolutely. And please don't forget, listeners and watchers, that I'll be there for you.
Perfect way to end things. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for being a part of Gotta Pop. No matter what you're doing today, I hope you have a fantastic time. I'll see you around.